All right, let's dive into one of the most famous parts of our cells, the mitochondria. We're about to go way beyond what you probably remember from biology class. We're going to uncover how these tiny structures really work, and maybe more importantly, what happens to our health when they start to break down.
You know the line, right? Everyone knows it. The mitochondria are the powerhouse of the cell. It's practically a meme at this point. And you know, it's a great starting point. It's a simple, neat way to think about this incredibly complex job of generating energy for, well, everything our bodies do.
But here's the thing. What happens when the machinery inside that powerhouse starts to fail? It's not like a simple power outage where you just flip a circuit breaker. No, the consequences for the human body can be absolutely devastating.
And this gets us to what I like to call the powerhouse paradox. The very system that's designed to give us all this life-sustaining energy can, when it goes wrong, become the source of some really terrible diseases. Let's look at a couple of quick examples.
Okay, so take something like MELAS syndrome. It can cause muscle weakness, seizures, even stroke-like episodes. Or MERF syndrome, which can lead to muscle twitches, loss of vision and hearing, and serious heart problems. Both of these are caused by tiny mutations in our mitochondrial DNA. It's just a tragic reminder of how much our brain, our muscles, our entire nervous system relies on these little powerhouses working perfectly.
So how on earth can things go so wrong? Well, to figure that out, we need to zoom in. We've got to look way closer at the machinery inside the powerhouse itself. We need to understand how it's actually put together, because trust me, it's way more elegant and complex than most of us ever learned.
You know, for the longest time, scientists were arguing about how all these energy-generating parts were arranged. First, they had this idea called the solid model, where everything was imagined to be locked rigidly in place. Then, the pendulum swung the other way to the liquid model, suggesting everything was just kind of floating around freely. But now, we have the plasticity model, which shows us it's actually this beautiful, dynamic mix of both. Some parts are free, sure, but others come together to form these highly organized, super-efficient teams.
And these amazing teams, they have a name: respiratory supercomplexes. So, picture this. Imagine each individual enzyme is like a turbine in a power plant. A supercomplex is like grouping those turbines together into one single, highly efficient unit where they can all work in perfect sync. These are the real workhorses of our cellular powerhouses.
Okay, so what's the big deal with this organization? Why is it so critical? Well, by getting together in these supercomplexes, the whole process of electron transfer, which is the absolute foundation of making energy, becomes way more efficient. This setup also slashes the production of these nasty byproducts called reactive oxygen species, or ROS, which can really damage our cells. And on top of that, it even makes the individual parts more stable. It's a truly brilliant piece of biological engineering. And get this, just like Lego bricks, these complexes can snap together in different combinations. The most famous one is called the respirosome, which brings together 3 of the biggest players in the energy assembly line. But you also find smaller teams, smaller pairings. This flexibility is just incredible because it lets the cell perfectly fine-tune its energy production machinery based on exactly what it needs in that very moment.
All right, so up to this point, we've been talking all about maximizing efficiency, right? Getting the most bang for your buck. But now, we're going to look at something that sounds completely backwards, the idea that sometimes it's actually important to be inefficient on purpose.
It's a pretty wild question when you think about it, isn't it? If the whole point of the game is to generate as much energy as you possibly can, why would a cell ever choose to just let it go to waste? Well, it turns out the answer boils down to 2 key things: safety and control.
The process is called mitochondrial uncoupling, and it's essentially an intentional leak in the system. Think of it like this. A power plant is building up way too much pressure, so it has a safety valve to vent steam and prevent a meltdown. Uncoupling is the cell's version of that exact same idea. It disconnects the energy-making part from the energy-storing part and just releases that power safely as heat. In fact, this is exactly how our brown fat helps keep us warm. And what's really cool is that this leak isn't just some random accident. It's controllable. Our bodies can trigger it naturally using special proteins like UCP1 or even things like free fatty acids. But it can also be kickstarted by certain synthetic chemicals like DNP and FCCP, which scientists often use in the lab to study this very process.
Okay, so we've got these 2 huge ideas on the table now: the elegant assembly of supercomplexes for pure efficiency and this controlled leak, this uncoupling for safety and control. Now, let's tie all of this back to where we started, with those devastating diseases.
And this is where that paradox we talked about really gets solved. When the assembly of these supercomplexes fails, it doesn't just make the system a little less efficient, it can completely destabilize the whole operation. This kind of failure is directly linked to severe genetic conditions like Leigh and Barth syndromes, and now researchers are finding that it also plays a huge role in the progression of neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's.
But here's where things get really, really exciting. What if we could actually use our understanding of all this machinery for good? What if we could flip the script? Scientists are now seriously exploring how to harness that controlled leak, that intentional inefficiency, as a brand new form of medicine.
I mean, just think about the possibilities here. By carefully and safely inducing a little bit of this mitochondrial uncoupling, we might be able to tackle some of our biggest modern health challenges. Forcing the body to burn more energy as heat could be a powerful new tool against obesity. And by reducing the production of that damaging ROS, it could lead to incredible new treatments for both heart disease and neurological disorders.
And this isn't just some fringe idea. As a team of researchers put it recently, the failure of supercomplex assembly is a key factor in how many of these diseases develop. This really just hammers home how critical this field of research is. Understanding exactly how these supercomplexes are built, how they're maintained, and how they're regulated, that is right at the cutting edge of modern medicine.
So we started with a simple line from a high school biology textbook and ended up here, in this incredible world of supercomplexes, controlled leaks, and direct links to our health. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Could the future of medicine, the key to treating some of our toughest diseases, be hidden deep inside the very powerhouses that keep every single one of us alive?